Hey, what's up, Grand Rising? How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I am Coach Renz, and today is Wednesday, so we were doing our normal Wednesday of What's Wrong with the Bible, and we are in Joshua 15 and 16. We give about 5 minutes for people to get on, and then we will get started. If you're finding me for the first time, this is a channel where we deconstruct Christianity. If you are a Christian, this is not aimed to dissuade you from Christianity. But for people who have questions and people who have already walked away, is a place where we gather to learn more about why we walked away, become more confident in our walking away, more solidified, get away from some of the ills that we still struggle with in our walking away. Grand Rising Dwayne, welcome to the show. So we look forward to this conversation. First, I want to thank those who constantly give to the channel. Thank you very much. Those who do so here as well, okay, as well as those who go to the merch store, which you can see in the description areas of the channel and most videos. So, like I said, we're continuing our What's Wrong with the Bible series. I'm in Joshua. If you don't have a problem with cigars, you should not be here, because I'm about to smoking a perla today on the downside of the budget before we get paid on Friday. And the new leaves get here that my wife will be rolling some more cigars. Oh, let me do some housekeeping real quick. Make sure everything is showing up like it's supposed to. Everything that looks good. Yep, that's fine. Grand Rising Debbie, Tim, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Wayne Witherspoon, Grand Rising. No, you're not late this time, Wayne. You're not late. You're not late this time. There's a picture I know I want to bring up. I wonder how it's going to look. Image. Just testing something out before we get going. Oh, yeah, okay. Got that. Oh, ha. Learn something new. Philadelphia in the building. I was cracking a joke the other day to my wife about why so many women in Philadelphia got deep voices. Seems like there's a lot of Philly women with deep voices. I don't know where it comes from. It's a little disturbing. A little disturbing. It's all right though. Let people be who they gonna be. So hopefully people, if you was here for those who are new to the channel, our discussion yesterday was a pretty good one on how the resurrection story has so many contradictions and would not even hold up in a court of law. So if you missed that, you can go into the history on YouTube and Facebook and see those. So how's everybody doing today? Had a nice 80-degree day here. It's still 79 degrees right now. Oh, we got up to, it was 83 degrees earlier. Had to sit in the shade. Had lunch outside and sitting in the shade. So leave your Philly women alone. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Seems like they have some deep voices in Philly. Very interesting. I ain't saying they do. I'm not saying that. Just saying the voices are pretty deep. Got that growl in their voice. That's all I'm saying. Sean made it up to 55. Thank you. This is my summer cigar hat. Plus, it worked better with what I'm wearing since I got on shorts than the cowboy hat. But, appreciate that, Brian. Appreciate it. Well, 5 minutes in, time to get started. So if you haven't seen our other previous videos concerning the what's wrong with the Bible, then you can go into the playlist on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube, that'll be the easiest way, because there's a playlist called What's Wrong with the Bible, and for each chapter of the Bible that we've done so far. So we've done Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, and now we're in Joshua. So Numbers, Deuteronomy, now we're in Joshua. And currently we're at Joshua 15 and 16. Now 13 and 14 was kind of boring last week as far as the reading, and most of y'all weren't paying attention anyway. Y'all are arguing with people in the comments. This week is going to be very similar. The information is incredibly similar to the information that we went over last week. It just gets more into the division of the property given to Judah, but it also demonstrates how they didn't quite fulfill what this God said. The Perlas, the PDMs, I can't get the focus right. But this Perla, it's a this is the Maduro. It's a nice low-end cigar. It's a nice low-end cigar. So like right now, towards the end of the month, the cigar budget is very lean until the leaves that we ordered come in tomorrow. We ordered some leaves, they'll be in tomorrow. So my wife will be rolling some cigars tomorrow so that I can have them on Friday. But it's a nice low-end cigar, decent smoke. A little pepper, a little cocoa. A little baker spice. A little baker spice. A little coffee earthiness to it. Oh, Will, you have the PDM shade? I do have I bought a pack, so it has 2 of the PDM shades in it. Those are good morning time coffee cigars because the shade is a lot lighter. It has that Connecticut wrapper on it. So it's a good morning cigar. I don't particularly care for Connecticut's that much. If I'm going to have a morning cigar, I'd rather have a Mexican San Andreas, or as far as the wrapper is concerned, the Mexican San Andreas, the Ecuadorian. Well, no, Ecuadorian is going to be too spicy for the morning. A Dominican, Cameroon. So I know this is not a cigar channel. If people were waiting at the 5-minute mark, like, what the hell are you talking about cigar? I thought you said you're gonna get started at the 5-minute mark. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's get started. So I'm gonna put this up here so that you can understand how the land masses were divided according to what we went over last week on here, as far as the lands that were given, so that as I'm reading through this, you can see where the lands are. And you can already tell, and this is the main emphasis of this, the main problem. There's 2 main problems with 15 and 16. The first main problem with 15 is the fact that because Caleb argued last week in 13 and 14 that he should get a larger portion of land, because out of the Israelites who supposedly came out of Israel, Caleb and Joshua were the only ones who didn't find weakness within the Israelites or belief in God that they would be able to conquer. And now that all the people are dead, Caleb and Joseph were the only ones who supposedly came out of Egypt that were going to be allowed into this promised land. And so now Caleb is using that in order to get more land. And as you can see on this map, Caleb is a part of the tribe of Judah. So he got more land for his tribe. And, even the tribe of Simeon is part of the kingdom of Judah. And the other problem is that they were supposed to conquer all the Canaanites, but problem is they didn't. And we're going to see that at the end of 15 that they didn't conquer all of them, which goes against the so-called covenant that they have with this God, right? You got a Monte Cristo burning yourself? It's a nice cigar. Wayne, I haven't seen this town in Africa. I saw a video real quick that talked about people in Africa not being able to go in, black people not being able to go into some white town. I don't know if that's it. No. I'll look that up though. So let's go ahead and get started with this reading. Chapter 15 is decently long. Chapter 16 is incredibly short, so it's kind of balances itself out. So keep that map in mind as I go through this, and you should be able to chart where this thing is talking about. And anytime it talks about the salted sea, it's really talking about the Dead Sea. So it kind of goes back and forth within that conversation. So, as I said, I'm gonna mess up a lot of names, so don't get mad at me about the names that I mess up. Chapter 15 starts the allotment for the tribe of Judah, according to his clans, extended down to the territories of Edom, to the desert of Zin in the extreme harsh south. Now remember, Edom is the Edomites. This is the children from Esau, one of the groups that they. And here's what's funny. I remember years ago I got into a debate with a Hebrew Israelite, and he was like, the Edomites are the white people. But then he also said that Japheth, that his descendants are the white people. So I was like, which one? Which one are the white people? You can't have it both ways, because if Edomites are the white people, and Edomites came from Esau, and Esau came from Jacob, then he is in the line of Shem, which makes them Semites, which makes them part of the inheritance of Abraham, so to speak. I mean, he's in the line. He's not part of the inheritance, so let me take that away. But he's in the line of Abraham. So the white people that you call Edomites, you should be saying that they are also part of the Semites, because they come from Shem, not Japheth. And he got mad, started yelling. This was in New Orleans, and they wanted to fight me. But always keep that in your back pocket, right? Keep that in your back pocket if you ever run into a Hebrew Israelite. All right, so they got this territory to Edom, to the desert of Zin in the extreme south. Their southern boundary started from the bay at the southern end of the Dead Sea, crossed south to the Scorpion Pass, continued to Zin, and went over to the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it ran past Hezon up to Adar and curved around to Karka. It then passed along the Azamon and joined the wall of the Wadi of Egypt. So the Wadi of Egypt would be your Sinai Peninsula, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. This is their southern boundary. The eastern boundary of the Dead Sea, as far as the mouth of the Jordan. The northern boundary started from the bay of the sea at the mouth of the Jordan, went up to Beth Hogla, and continued north to Beth Araba. To the stone bosun, son of Reuben. The boundaries then went up to Debir, from the valley of Angkor, and turned north to Gilgal, which faces the path of Adamim, south of the gorge. It continued along to the waters of En Shamash and in at the En Rogel. Then it ran up to the valley of Ben Hinnom, along the southern slope of the Jebusite city, that is Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is controlled by the Jebusites at this time frame, but this has been allocated to the tribe of Judah. From there, it climbed into the top of the hills west of Hinnom, the Hinnom Valley, at the northern end of the valley of Rephaim. From the hilltop of the boundaries headed towards the spring of the waters of Nephtorah, came out at the town of Mount Ephraim, and went down towards Baal-Ath, that is Kiriath Jearim. I'm saying that all kind of wrong. Then it curved westward from Baalath to Mount Seir, ran along the northern slopes of Mount Jearim, that is Keshlon, continued down to Beth Shemesh, and crossed to Timnah. It went to the northern slopes of Ekron, turned toward Shekaron, passed along to Mount Balak, and reached Jabneel, and the boundary end at the sea. How's everybody coming on here? Just to remind you, we're on Joshua 15 and 16 today. These are just the lands that are allocated to the tribe of Judah based on Caleb using his political influence to gain this land. The western boundary is the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. These are the boundaries around the people of Judah by their clans. In accordance with the Lord's command to him, Joshua gave to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, a portion of Judah's Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron. Arbra was the forefather of Anak. From Hebron, Caleb drove out the three Ammonites, Seshai, Ahaman, and Talmi, the son of Anakai. So I'm gonna mess up some of these names. From there, he marched against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kadesh Beer. And Caleb said, I will give my daughter Ashna in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Karath Sefer. I'm saying this all wrong. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's brother, the son. Okay, so this is Caleb's nephew. Caleb's brother took it, so Caleb gave his daughter to Aksa to him in marriage. So what we have is that Caleb said, whoever conquers this land will get my daughter in marriage. In order to keep up with the nepotism, Caleb's nephew conquered this land supposedly, and then took his cousin into marriage. So we got some cousin banging that's going on. Now, of course, this daughter has no ability to determine whom she wants to marry, because she is just property, right? So trauma, you stupid, I know where you're going. So she is just property. And women were just property within the Bible. That's all that they are. They're just good for making babies. And here she's the motivation to go and capture and kill some people. Now, of course, there's zero archaeological evidence that these conquerings ever happened. So, but you can say that there was a time frame in the 10th century, 9th century, 8th century that these kingdoms of Israelites did exist. So we can say the kingdoms existed, but what you cannot say is that they conquered all these people and genocided all these people, or that Caleb sold his daughter off to whoever could win the battle. Verse 18. One day she came to Othniel. She urged him to ask her father for a field. She couldn't go ask her own dad, so somebody else got to do it. When she got off her donkey, if you read in some of the Bibles, it'll say when she got off her ass. And of course, if you're thinking about it from an American standpoint, you're gonna laugh when you see that. But they talking about a donkey. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, "What can I do for you?" She replied, "Do me a special favor. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also a spring of water." So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. Serious nepotism going on here. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Judah according to its clans. So Caleb wanted his stuff, got it, and now he's demonstrating the same type of nepotism of making sure his daughter has all this land and wells, and is keeping it in the family by making her marry her cousin. So the southernmost towns of the tribe of Judah in the Negev towards the boundary of Edom were And we're going to go through this little list. And I'm going to mess up a lot of these names. So buckle your belts. Kebzil, Idar, Jagur, Kinna, Dimona, Adaha, Kadesh, Hazan, Ithena, Ziph, Telem, Beloth, Hazan, Hardatha, Kiroth, Herzon, that is Hazor, Amam, Shema Molada, Hazar Gada, Heshmon, Beth, Pelet, Beth Pelet, Hazar Shual, Beersheba, Benzonith, Bala, Liam, Ezim, Tolad, Kisil, Hormath, Ziklag, Madamana, Susannaha, Sansana, Liboath, Shilhim, Anim, Rimon, the total 29 towns and their villages. Yes, I screwed all that up. In the Western Foothills, we just gonna go ahead and say a whole bunch of cities. That these are 9 towns, that these are 16 towns rather. And they are like Zenon, Hadeshma, Migdal Gad, Dela, Mitzvah, Joktel. There's a whole bunch of towns that you can see it on the map over there. All the lands that the Judah supposedly claimed. And all their villages. So they got 29 villages, then 16 villages, then 9 more villages, 14 villages, then 9 more, and it's just listing towns in the hill country, the towns that are in the hill countries. I'm not going to kill y'all with my mispronunciation of all these towns, right? So on the map, it shows you all the towns that they supposedly conquered. And then you skip all the way down to 63, where it says that Judah could not dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the people of Judah. Now, I didn't look this up. I didn't look it up, but I'm curious. How long did Jebusites live in Jerusalem? So this would suggest that Jebusites were living in the town of Jerusalem. Oh, wait, that's not the right question. When was the last time Jebusites lived in Jerusalem? So the Jebusites were living in Jerusalem. It was known as Jebus. According to this, until King David came and took it. So this was placed, and it's saying till this day, would be them trying to indicate that this was written until the time frame at least of David. But this is all based on what the Bible says. What I'm looking for is any information that would show us archaeological information consisting of that. Now, according to some scholarship, is saying that it was the siege of Jebu took place around 1010 BCE. Which is why you cannot put some Christian scholars try to put this time frame of Joshua as late as the 1400s. But if Moses or Joshua wrote this, if it was written at the time frame, these people didn't leave until 1010. But we know that Joshua, when you look at birth time frames, there's not enough births of who begat who at what age to justify David taking this area in 1010 and Joshua existing um, in 1400s. So the 1200 dating of Joshua would be more accurate, but with a 1200 dating of Joshua, the walls of Jericho fell in the 1500s BCE. So it still doesn't fit the narrative. These are some of the rational thinkings that lets us know that these stories are not accurate to history, that they are just things that people have made up. Let me check one more thing before I get off that part. To see if I could quickly find some other information with archaeological data. I didn't think about this when I was getting ready for the show tonight. I guess I was caught up with all the readings. So in the Armana letters, we know it was Jerusalem in 1330s BCE. Sumerians had it. Well, that was 2200 BCE. So they had been, these Jebusites this town had been by the Yabusu in the 2200 BCE. So actually there is absolutely no data about the Jebusites or Jebu outside of this Bible to prove that even the Jebusites were in control of this land at that time frame. This is just something that you only find in the Bible. And something is not credible if you only have one source. That would be like saying that, well, the only source of American history is what was written by the Board of Education in Texas. And you completely ignore any other sources that back it up or goes away from what American history is. And we're about to do chapter 16. So that was chapter 15. So in chapter 15, all that we saw was Judah got all of this land. You can see the size different. Now Manasseh's got two parts. You got the Manasseh's on the half tribe that got this side on, that got the side on the eastern side of the Jordan River, and the ones who said we're fine, we'll just stay over here. Ephraim and Dan, they got their parts over here because they wanted to stay. And then these other tribes, Gad and Reuben, and you can see how small their size are. Benjamin's got that little bit of piece of land, but they all got these small. Naphtali got this little piece of land. When the Assyrians come in, they first conquer all of this, and these tribes become part of the Assyrians. They then conquered all through Palestine, but they didn't take all of Judah. So the kingdom of Judah still remained for a little bit. Then the Babylonians came and they took all of this and most of this. And these people were then taken into Babylonian captivity and then released in the Persians. So they claim that all these tribes were lost because they were just absorbed into the Assyrians and the Babylonian tribes and some into the Persians. Now, according to the belief, there was a time frame when all of this land was controlled by David, King David. And the only reference to this is in the Bible. There's zero archaeological evidence that demonstrates that David and Solomon's son and grandson controlled all of this until they were conquered by the Assyrians. But they had broken up before they were conquered by the Assyrians anyway, into the northern tribe of Israel and the southern tribe of Judah, the northern kingdom of Israel. and the southern kingdom of Judah, because the kingdom of Judah also included the tribe of Simeon. So that's this whole situation. Now, like I said, they got a larger piece because Caleb played the I was with you and down with you, Joshua, when we first got to the promised land, but then were denied to go in because the people who came over with us out of Egypt didn't didn't believe God would do it. Now, of course, the problem with this time frame being in the 1200s, or even if it was in the 1500s, is that all of this land was controlled by Egypt at the time frame that they're claiming to have conquered this land. You can find all the historical data that demonstrates this, whether we're talking about the Amarna letters, we're talking about the Mesha Stele, or the most important one is the Merneptah Stele. The Merneptah Stele clearly states that in 1204, Pharaoh Merneptah conquered other tribes of Canaanites that were in this land that they are claiming that they own, and conquered a people group called Israelites during the 1204. The issue is that Merneptah recognized the Israelites as just a people group, whereas the other Canaanite people, he recognized them as city-states or fortified cities or nations that had revolted against Egypt and had their own little nationhood going on. So what you have is the Israelites claiming that they have this land and it was just Canaanites here, but they were also Egyptians in this land at the same time frame, and it was under Egyptian control, and those kingdoms were Egyptian vassal states. Now, about 100 years later, you have the Bronze Age collapse. The Sea people come in down here where the Philistines are, and they conquer the Egyptians. They defeat the Egyptians. The Egyptians lose control of all this land. After they lose control of all this land, all these other Canaanite groups and Israelite people groups and Moabites and Edomites and Ammonites, they all start fighting over this land to establish their kingdom. And so they wrote their own history. They created their own history. And that is what this Bible is a created history for these Israelite kingdoms that tried to establish themselves after the Bronze Age collapse. So let's go ahead and read through 16. It's short, it's only 10 verses. Pam, if you just heard everything I just said and still claim that there's nothing wrong with the Bible, then you just did not hear everything that I just said, and you just choose to believe. And if that's your choice, that's fine. But if you want to ignore actual history, that's on you as well. So to continue, chapter 16. The allotment for Joseph began at the Jordan, east of the spring of Jericho, and went up from there through the desert into the hill country of Bethel. It went from Bethel, that is Luz, crossed over to the territory of the Ammonites and in Athroth, descending westward to the territory of the Jephthalites, as far as the region of Lower Beth Haran, and on to Gizar, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. So Manasseh and Ephraim, the descendants of Joseph, received their inheritance, right? And once again, look how much land the Manasseh got. This is some serious favoritism that's going on with Joseph and Caleb within their people, and this would have created conflict. Verse 5. This was the territory of Ephraim according to his clan. The boundary of the inheritance went from Athroth Adar to the east to upper Beth Horon, and continued to the Mediterranean Sea. From the Methoth on the north, it curved eastward to Tanath Sheol, um, Sheol, Shiloh, God dang it, pass, passing by it to uh, Janoah on the east. Then it went down from Janoah to Athroth and Nara, touched Jericho, and came out at the Jordan. From Tapua, the border went west to the Kana ravine and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. This was the inheritance of the tribe of Ephraimites, according to his clan. It also included all the towns and their villages that were set aside for the Ephraimites within the inheritance of the Manassites. They did not dislodge the Canaanites living in Gezer. To this day, the Canaanites lived among the people of Ephraim, but are required to do forced labor. So we know what required to do forced labor is. They are required to be slaves. And that's it. So this map is not historically correct. No, historically factual. No. This map is based on what the Bible claims. What makes this important, like I was saying earlier, the Bible is claiming that the Israelites control this land by tribes in and around the the end of the 13th century into the beginning of the 12th century. But what we know historically is that this land was not controlled by them during that time frame, that this land was controlled by Egypt during this time frame. And there were Canaanite vassal states to Egypt, and the Israelites were just a nomadic people who were living in the hillside. So that hillside country would have been like up and around this Manassas and Gad and Reuben area would be the hillside country that they were living in. The only reason they were able to establish any kingdoms after the Bronze Age collapse is because one of the things that they think that created the Bronze Age collapse was a severe drought. And all the people on the coastal area started coming into the hillside and merged with the Israelite people who were there. But no, this is not historic. This is just based on what the Bible claims. And we see that, of course, when you conquer somebody or the people still living there, they were forced into labor, but there is zero historical data that demonstrates that those people of Gezer were slaves of the Israelites. If you accept this narrative, then you're accepting it simply because you just want to believe it and nothing more. Yes, so this land was called the land of milk and honey, but it went through droughts. This land was desert. If this guy wanted some people to have land of milk and honey, they would have been like down in sub-Saharan Africa somewhere, you know. But for desert people, any lands that you can grow fields, and because the more there are parts of Israel where you can grow fields and you can have cattle and sheep and so on and so forth. There along rivers like the Jordan, is fertile land. But when your existence is only that little piece of land, you think you now hit gold. You don't realize that the nourishment of the lands in South America, North America, throughout Africa, south of the Saharan desert, the lushness of India, you don't recognize those things because they're unknown to you. So you think you got something good. It's like people who think that America is the greatest country in the world to live in. If you've never been outside of America, you wouldn't know that. You might think that way. But that is the reading of today. So the only thing that we really saw in this one is that they're claiming lands that they did not actually own, that they never owned, that they never could have owned at the time frame by which they are claiming that they own this land. That they conquered people that there's no historical evidence of them conquering those people. That they did not, that this God didn't fulfill his covenant, nor did they, because they did not conquer the Jebusites, and nor did they conquer all the people in Gezer. We also saw that women still don't have any rights of agency because his daughter was forced to marry somebody, whoever was just a good warrior and could conquer a town that Caleb decided he wanted to conquer. And in true nepotism form, Caleb and Joshua's clans got the largest pieces of land, and Caleb's daughter got some extra stuff since she married someone who was in the tribe who happens just to be her first cousin. So I'm pretty sure their baby might have had some medical issues. And I could have swore that by this time frame, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought in Leviticus or Deuteronomy, first cousins were not permitted to marry. Where in the Bible does it say first cousins should not marry? Maybe it doesn't. It doesn't say first cousin. At least I don't see anything really quick that would show that. Daughters, stepchildren, aunts, sisters. Okay, so it's still fine to marry your first cousin at this time frame. So in the Bible, if you want to marry your first cousin, you can. And so if you want to have children with issues, there you go. The land wasn't that much different than it is now. They still had the deserts of Negev at that time frame. You still had the sparseness of the hill country in vegetation. You still had hot summers and cold ass winters like you do now. There, you got to understand where this area is, and their weather is jacked up. Let me bring that picture back up, and now I can. So the Mediterranean Sea it ends at Israel. So you got all this sea air, sea wind, salt air flushing itself and blowing like hell across this land. So you don't have a lot of trees, like you would have on the East Coast. You don't have a lot of vegetation. A lot of this land that's fertile is along these rivers. Along these rivers, that's where the land is more fertile. In these non-river area or away from some of the Dead Sea, ain't nothing growing around the Dead Sea, it's just desert. But outside of these rivers is really dry and inhospitable. So that's why the people were more desert nomadic people. But the land wasn't that great. Now, when you compare it to going further towards Iraq, modern day Iraq, it gets more desert until you get to the Euphrates River. But the land is not that great. But to them, being in those river basins and stuff, they would have thought that it was great land. But yes, it's like the Hatfields and McCoys. They intermarry amongst cousins and family. You got to remember, when Moses did say that women can get an inheritance, he said that the only way you can keep your inheritance is if you marry another Israelite. But if you marry somebody outside of the Israelites, then you don't get to keep your inheritance. So that's one of the reasons why they would marry their cousins, is to keep the land and the money in with them. And you're right, Boondocks. In order to believe this story, in order to maintain your faith in this, you have to reject actual history. You cannot accept real history and believe the Bible. That those don't go hand in hand. Hold on for a second. I thought I opened this window. I was wondering why the smoke wasn't going out the window door. Oh, all right, there we go. Sorry about that. So, any questions and comment statements? Concerning what we talked about or anything else. I knew today that part was going to be short because I wasn't planning on reading all those damn cities and stuff. One, because I'm bad at it, but two, because it's all just made up anyway. But like I said, you have to ignore history in order to accept the story. And the fact of the matter is, outside of apologists, no historian, true historian, no archaeologist, linguistic archaeologist, no Assyriologist, no archaeologist in that area accepts that in the 1200s BCE or even the 1100s that this land was controlled by Israelites. Only those who believe in the Bible thinks that this land was controlled by Israelites. Of course, Egyptians don't accept it because their history tells them that they control this land. But the difference is they can prove it, whereas the Israelites can't prove any of it. If I was y'all, I would just ignore James on Facebook because one, he says the same thing over and over again. Two, he has nothing to back up anything he says. Three, his shit is unintelligible, so I don't even know why y'all pay him any attention. And James, and see, here's the thing, James, all you're doing is making the algorithm think that it should send this podcast out to more and more people. So thank you, James. All your comments just make the algorithm work better for us. But yeah, the more you read this book, the easier it should be. I don't know if this is what you were talking about, Dwayne. The easier it should be for you to deconstruct from this book. Because when you read this book and then you compare it to history, you realize that the book is wrong. So if the book is wrong, then your God is fallible. And if your God is fallible, then how can this be God? It doesn't work. How can you claim you're not? So they claim that they're spiritual or some bullshit like that. I always find it interesting when they claim that they're an Israelite, and it's because of the indoctrination of this book that people want to attach themselves to it. If Christianity or the Bible hadn't become so popularized through conquest and slavery, then these people will find something else that they would want to attach themselves to. And that's pretty sad. Yes, and Eric, one of the ways that Egyptians proved that they were in control in this land is through the Meneptah Stele, through the Amarna letters. And the Amarna letters are these city-states that were vassals of Egypt who were sending letters to Pharaoh Amarna or King Amarna, I think he was a pharaoh, asking for assistance because there were mercenaries who the Hebrew people were, and Hebrew means poor, mercenaries, people like that, it has nothing to do with the term Hebrew, were problematic and they were asking for assistance. So they have archaeology to show that they were in control, that these areas were vassal states to them during this time frame. Oh, wait a minute. There was a question I wanted to respond to. Where was that? Next question. At any point, did any of these people actually rule over the lands that they lay claim to? The earliest that anybody could have controlled these lands would be around 1010 BCE. That's the earliest. That is when we know that Jerusalem fell to what would become the kingdom, at least the northern kingdom of Israel. So that's the earliest. But this story here is supposedly happening around the 1200s BCE by archaeology. By biblical apologists, most of them put it around 1500 BCE, 1400 BCE, which is completely improbable because it's guaranteed that Egypt controlled that land during that time frame. So around 1010 is the earliest that any person claiming to be an Israelite controlled these lands. And this is where they put the kingdom of David and Saul. So, and really they have to account for the kingdom of David would be the only ones. Let me make sure I get the right spelling of it. Armana letters. A-R-N-A. So the Amarna letters are, like I said, those letters that these city-states were writing and sending to, and let me put it up here so you can see it, to the Pharaoh Amarna. And this was happening around the 14th century. Let me check. Yeah, 14th century BCE. So 14th century BCE will be the 1300s. So if Joshua was happening prior to that, he could not have. If some biblical scholars put, because it says that the fourth year reign of Solomon was 480 years since Moses and them, they put it back to around the 1400s. But we see the Amarna letters are saying that in the 1300s, this land was controlled by Egypt, that these were vassal states under Egyptian control. So it just doesn't work. And these people just have the Bible that they're going off of, but we got actual documents, letters from these people who were saying, hey, Egypt, we vassal states to you, and your duty is to help us fight off these Vandals. That's a touchy one right there, my guy. It is very difficult for most people when they are deconstructing and they have a spouse who is still believing in this book. Sometimes it's best to focus on every other aspect that makes your relationship great instead of focusing on that. one of the things that when I was married to a Christian woman, I would tell her, according to the Bible, we are going to be like angels in heaven, not given unto marriage. So if you're right, you go to heaven. If not, I go to hell. But even if we both go to heaven, we're not married. So let's enjoy where we are now. Let's enjoy the parts that made us get married. You didn't marry me because I was Christian. You married me because how I treated you, how we had fun together, all these sorts of things. You got that good poom poom, I got that good ping ping. That's why we got married. So I told her that, like, let's focus there. And this kind of conversation we just don't have. There are plenty of conversations that you don't have with your spouse. That'll be one of them. Let's see. Let me see if I missed anything while I was. All right. You have not been legally married, but she also won't marry me because I'm not a believer. This may sound harsh, but if y'all don't have any kids, even if you got kids, maybe y'all just shouldn't be together. It's a hard one, but maybe you just shouldn't be together. And unlike when I was 19, there weren't many. I didn't know anybody who thought like I thought. So I didn't have many options, but there's plenty of options today. Just saying. Maybe y'all just shouldn't be together. Because is it worth the fight? That's hard when you have 3 kids. I understand. Not living in the house with my children when they were preteens and teens up to adulthood was very difficult for me. I literally went through some years of depression because of it, but I never lost sight of them. She never lost sight that we have to co-parent together, and my kids grew up. They turned out great. So it's a hard thing, but that's part of adulting. You got to make hard decisions sometimes. Yep, it's a hard truth to accept. Um, it took me 5 years to accept that truth and to end the marriage. It took me 5 years to do so. I suffered through it for 5 years. So instead of a 17-year marriage, it should have been a 12-year. So you're not going to service during the football game? If I had married a Christian, I wouldn't go to service at all. This is Leon's advice. You got a choice, brother. Let it be or call it a day. Right? Stop talking about it or call it a day. 41, you're young. That's a young age. You still got 40, 50, 60 years ahead of you. Do you want to spend the next 40, 50, 60 years fighting? You know what I'm saying? How is that going to, how do you think, what kind of an environment are your kids growing up in? I mean, I don't know if it's something that y'all agonize over and fight over a lot and it's affecting other areas of your relationship. Feel like I'm on a relationship channel. But if it's affecting other areas of your relationship, how much damage are you doing to your children? You know? Just saying. It's an interesting thought. Damn it. I have no idea how many years you got ahead of you. I'm not even trying to hit that. I was trying to hit something else. If it's not damaging your relationship and y'all dealing with it and both of y'all are still presenting a good front to the children and raising the children, well, then, if y'all can make it work, make it work. But it's going to be some uphill battles. So you absolutely don't derive your theology from the Bible. I consider myself non-Abrahamic, true monotheistic. Followers of Abraham are a blood cult of sin worshippers. I would agree with you on that. My question is, where do you derive your theology from? And what is that theology? If you don't mind, I'm just curious. Not trying to call you on a carpet or anything like that, just curiosity. Um, it's just her guilt from the hanky panky. So you got 3 kids. Just remind her that marriage in the Bible is the commitment and the sex. Marriage in the Bible has nothing to do with paperwork from an American government or any other government. That is just cultural, because there was no government back in the time. There was no government marriages back in the time of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, time of Jesus, time of any of these stories. Anytime every aspect of there's no time in the Bible where people engaged in marriage based on paperwork. And it is not the law. You don't have to be married to live with each other and to have a family. You say, I can call in sometime, like right now. Oh yeah, I forgot to put that out there anyway. So let me put the invite out there anyway. Oh, and she just started walking that God path. Mm, mm. And y'all got 3 kids. If y'all can make it work and y'all are happy and y'all demonstrate happiness and y'all work together and you raising the kids and the kids are healthy mentally and emotionally, do what you do. Keep working at it. I would just stop having conversations about it. You know, there's one Christian lady that I was with. I just told her, we're just not going to ever talk about this. This is just not something we're going to talk about. Otherwise, it's just going to create problems in other aspect of the relationship. But she kept talking about it, and it did create other problems. Plus the fact that she stopped being who I dated, and then she had to go. I thought the word God came from a German word. That'd be interesting about Gotham. I don't know. I've never looked up Gotham. I'm a Marvel guy, so Gotham really doesn't like me. You know what, James? Actually do have some advice for you, and I'm not trying to be funny. So I had this when I was the sales manager at New Horizons Computer Learning Center in Tampa. I had this young lady. She has a great personality, and she was a salesperson. She was one of my salespersons, but she had a very low command of the English language. So I don't know how she got hired, but they hired her anyway. So when I took over as sales manager, and I recognized that we almost lost a $69,000 sale because the people we were talking to looked at her funny when she would speak. So I had her copy the dictionary, literally page for page, copy the dictionary. And it helped her tremendously with her command of the English language. That is the only advice I can give you, other than you're not helping your case as far as trying to convert anybody over. Let's bring Dark Light on here.
What up?
How you doing, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on, bro. Appreciate it. I'm at a friend's house right now.
Cool.
I live off grid in the Ozark Mountains with a pack of dogs. I have been like that for at least 8 or 9 years now. It's probably more like 10.
Ah, okay.
And I mean off grid the hard way.
Better than me.
Yeah, no, I just had a brutal fucking winter. I've been roughing it. I got like a little house dealio started. I just didn't have it finished up for the winter and shit. So I just had to rough it out. This ain't my first winter I've roughed out. You know, I've been rough. I've slept in a bed of hay with my dogs and 10 degrees out, you know.
Uh-huh.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
Do your thing, my guy. So I asked the question, where do you derive your monotheism from?
Well, it is a working theory. It's not like some set dogma. I have never claimed atheist my whole life. I was raised as pagan, more like neo-Wiccan, omnious. My mom encouraged us to study everything. So at never any point did I ever claim atheist. And I'm from Florida. There's a lot of atheists down there that were, you know, I talked to a lot of them, and a lot of them said that they believe in something. They just didn't like how a lot of religions describe them. So to answer your question, I pull all of my theology directly out my ass. All right, but it is my personal connection. You know, I will come out and say everyone's connection to divinity or perceived connection to divinity is imaginary friends for adults. But I'm cool with that. I'm not imaginary friend phobic. I'm not trolling either. I'm serious, dude.
I actually, you know, the thing about it is I can appreciate somebody pulling their monotheism out of their ass better than I can somebody who pulls it from some old book written by people.
Yeah. I'd rather pull it out of my own ass than out of someone else's ass that might not have even existed. You know, shit.
Yeah. I can respect that more. I can respect that. I honestly can.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you derive it from if I'm understanding you correctly, you derive it from within yourself.
From myself, yeah, just from myself.
Outside of yourself.
I'm a fool for my own folly. I make my own Kool-Aid. I drink my own Kool-Aid. It's good fucking Kool-Aid. Y'all can't have none. I ain't trying to convert no one. I ain't trying to get a commune going. I hate people. The most civil thing I do is I don't know, try to talk to people online, but that's about. I like my privacy, man. I live way out in the fucking middle of nowhere in the woods.
Where you in Arkansas? Yeah,
yes, sir. I'm about an hour south of Branson, Missouri. So I'm in north central Arkansas. I'm actually right around Harrison, Arkansas. You know, the Harrison, Arkansas people always talk about. I'm right around there.
I have no idea. Somebody in the comments asked where about in Arkansas. So that was an opportunity.
Okay. I'll just spoiler alert. Harrison, Arkansas is known for housing the KKK. You know, if you just type it in, people fly from all around the world to come out here to go to Harrison, Arkansas to make a video about it. Okay. If you just type that in, all kinds of videos are made up about it and shit. But okay, so I live about probably 50 minutes from the house of the actual KKK leader, which I don't know exactly where he lives, but there's a guy right down the road that does, and he was telling me about the general area, and it's a little town called Zinc, Arkansas. It's not even Harris. Harrison actually ain't that bad. It's some of the smaller towns around Harrison that you got to worry about, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll pass on going to visit.
No, it's bad. It's badass out here though. It's beautiful, so we can go in a lot of different directions here, but we'll just stick to my theology. So theology is my favorite subject, right? I want to go around and interview everyone of true believers of every theology. And, you know, I don't care what you believe in as long as you believe it truly. And that's what I want my main thing to do for my channel. I've just been broke as fuck and haven't had the equipment for it in over a year. So I just do a lot of reactions.
What's the name of your channel? So everybody knows.
It is at Darklight Ascending. It's Darklight dash and then lower dash Ascending. But
okay. Y'all got that? In the comments is at Darklight_Ascended.
Or Darklight dash and then underscore Ascending.
Darklight dash_Ascended.
Yeah. And I had to leave the G out of it because that was just one character too many from what they would allow. It's supposed to be Darklight Ascending, so it's Ascending without the G on it.
Okay.
Because I am the Darklight and I am Ascending. I got my notes. I'm kind of retarded without my notes, man. But the way I see it is the way I like to describe it is God is a fractal singularity omnimatrix is the way I like to describe it, which we are all God. Our consciousness is an extension of the omniconsciousness. So fractal is an infinitely repeating self-similar pattern on both micro and macro scales. And then a singularity is a state of being singular. And then the matrix is it's a set of conditions that provides like a substrate in which something can grow is a matrix. And I like to call it the omnimatrix because there's no end to it. You know, it's like infinite levels of the singularity of consciousness on top of each other. And some of the revelations that I've had is the name of the Jesus character. It isn't Jesus. That's a fucking bullshit name. Okay. I think we're all the son of God for one, but okay, so his actual historical spiritual name is Yesayave. That's revelation that has been revealed to me. But I mean, the name don't matter, but it's just a little thing when people are like, oh, you must suck the Jesus juice. And I'm like, that's not even the actual character's real name to begin with. But so I see Yahweh, Jesus, and Allah as desert war gods of hypocrisy. I like to come out and I also like to remind people every time the Christians say that we worship the God of Israel, make sure to stop them in their tracks and be like, actually, no, you don't, because the God of Israel is not Jesus. Because Christians created their own divergent version of Jesus or of Yahweh, and they called it Jesus, you know, and then remade it in their image. But anytime anyone else tries to do that, they're like, no, you can't make God in your own image. They're very jealous about that because they already made Jesus in the image that they want, you know, and they use it as a symbol of tyranny and death. The first thing you got to accept about Jesus is death and sin, okay? They are a blood cult of sin worshipers, is how I like to call it. And I know I've been going on with myself here, but I'm just trying to tell you some more what I think about it.
No, I got the gist. I got the overarching gist of it and some of the details. So for you, let me see if I'm right. Your theology is basically that there's a unified mind that is omnipresent, expansive, all eternal. We are all fractions of that unified mind.
I would call it a quanta.
Right. And our goal is to come to the light, to return back to the unified mind and not be fractured away from it.
I wouldn't even say necessarily that, because the fracturing is part of the journey, which within the infinite freedom of perfect creation, there is every possibility and probability, you know, so that every world exists at some point, I believe in like the alternate timeline theory, where pretty much every decision that you can come to make, there's another timeline for that. And I'm just saying that's a possibility, but okay, so check it out. I think that all consciousness is an extension of the omni-consciousness, I call it, or some might say God. The omni-consciousness is the primordial source of intellect and wisdom and individuality, and out from there flows every other individual of which we are. So we are all co-creators within the Godhood. I like to say we are all a quanta of God. I'm not saying we are all the actual one true creator, but we are all, if the one true creator is a perfect creator, then his creations are going to be perfect creations and also perfect creators. Mm-hmm. And people get kind of hung up on that word perfect. I'm just kind of throwing it out as a colloquialism that is like a construct that people are kind of, but the followers of Abraham are so successful at manipulating the very perception of what the one true creator is, that like they want their, from what I can tell, and I study this like all day long, fucking Jew theology, Muslim theology, Christian theology. I'm like, even though sometimes I don't want to, I'm just like compelled to like get in there and study it so I can understand it all better. That way I can better criticize it, really. Because as I'm going through it, certain things point out to me like that's not the one true creator. That's not that's misleading about the one true creator. And as I go through all their theology, and so like I used to be afraid of going through it just because I thought I might be afraid of being susceptible to some of their bullshit. But as I go through it, I'm like, there's no how the fuck do so many people get controlled by this for thousands of years? The smartest people capitulate to this stupid fucking shit and those theologies like
government and military. If the government and the military supports the thought process, the people will follow it.
Yeah.
Especially during time frames where the government easily can come into your house and kill you. So it's not like how it is today in most westernized countries or democratic countries. Back in the Roman era, if the Roman government decided that this is the religion or that you had to follow it, or they could take you out, drag you on the streets and kill you. So you followed it. So it's understandable how people fall into these religions when they were in a state where they didn't really have a choice, They may not be full slaves.
They try to cut your feet out from under you with fear, and that's all baked into the theology that they try to get people to accept. It's all fear-based.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever read the Kabbalion?
The what?
The Kabbalion.
No.
It will be, I think you'll find it interesting. It's a Hermetic book. It's about the 7 Hermetic principles.
Yeah.
And some of your theology would match up well with the law of mentalism and the consideration of what the all is and creation and so on and so forth. There's a divine paradox that you actually mentioned. And the divine paradox is the all is in all, but all are not the all.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. Check it out. I think paradox and contradiction are baked into the very fabric of creation, and there are some theories like Gödel's incompleteness theories. I think that points to contradiction and paradox, because numbers are supposed to be the most, the language of the universe. They're supposed to be the most exacting, precise way to describe everything. Yet within the algebra for the Gödel's incompleteness theorem, you have truths of the system that cannot be proven by that system. That's a built-in contradiction and paradox, just the way I see it. Okay, and also the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. And I think that has a lot to do with the Gödel's incompleteness theorem, but there are definitely aspects, scientific disciplines and theories, and believe me, all kinds of people try to go through and disprove the Gödel's incompleteness theorem, but actually accepting that helped them, get their maths on.
Now you can't just say theorems without explaining them.
I ain't too good at the maths, but I don't got enough Jew in me to be good at the math. I got just enough Jew in me to where if someone's trying to fuck me on money, I like a little tingly goes off. And I'm like, oh, they trying to fuck me? I don't know what's going on, but I feel it. You just pump the brakes for a second.
Right.
Everyone's got a little Jew in them. They make sure of that.
That's so damn racist.
No, I'm just saying. They made sure of it. They're like, that's yeah, we're going to spread that thing. But I mean,
oh man, but anyway.
Hey, Hey, the things I say have no reflection on Coach Renz, y'all. All right, you take it up with me. It's a disclaimer. I need a disclaimer before I go on live with anyone's show.
No, it's fine.
Anything I say is reflected on me.
Well, they heard you say it. They didn't hear me say it. So
Yeah, exactly. It came out of my mouth.
I would just say that everybody has a tendency to want to make sure that they don't get cheated out of things. So that's not something that any one group has over the other. It's just
no. I don't believe that. I think some people really don't mind. Like, but some other people, they just got a sixth sense. You know, you trying to fuck me, I can feel it. Anyway, all right, we'll roll on with this. All right. But I was raised up in hoods, dude. I was raised up in hoods most of the time when I was a kid, the formative years they call it. And I finally moved out to the woods when I was about 14, 15. I got out of the hoods, went to the woods, and been tripping on mushrooms and acid ever since.
Now you're talking my language.
When I was 13, I was allowed to smoke weed. When I was 14, I was allowed to trip on acid. When I was 15, my mom was taking us to it's called Livestock down in Florida. It was like a mini Woodstock. They had it every single year for a long time. And I went every single year from the time I was 15 till about 24 or so when they quit having it.
That's a cool ass mother.
Yeah, no, she was cool. She was cool. She would be bipolar. She was a little bipolar. You didn't fuck around with mama, but you know we'd have trip parties at the house. She didn't want us tripping other places, so we'd have some friends over. We'd be tripping at the house, but she'd be supervising us and shit. But that's how she was raised too. She was allowed to trip when she was 14.
Now that's one of the things that I always find interesting is that people who have not some things, but some people who have used some what they call mind altering, stuff.
Well, I like to call it spirit journey. That's a spirit journey. There's a difference between tripping and spirit journey, and it's all about the intention that you go in. And I would like, as a disclaimer, I'd like to say anyone that goes into a psychedelic state, make sure you do it for the right reason. You control your surroundings. If you have any kind of bad feeling, don't do it. Just hold on to it till later, until you feel good about it. Yeah, because I definitely had some bad trips until I realized the right way to do it. Because I mean, my mom was there, but she was never taught the right way to do it either. So I had to figure that out. But ever since I figured it out, I have not had a bad trip yet. Every time I do it, it's for a spirit journey, and it's for. Actually, you can look up some of my videos. I just did one recently that was a reaction where I go over some of the videos where I'm doing tongues, and some of those I did a big old blast of DMT right before. Not all of them, but some of them. And I'll leave it up to y'all to tell me which one. But if you can pick them out, then yeah. But
and I always tell people don't do it because I'm saying it and it's legal, so don't do it. But anytime I take a mushroom, there's always a process of cleaning my body to a certain degree, and then meditating, cleaning my mind, and getting myself ready for it. And I've never had a bad trip. But
never ever,
because I don't live on fear. I don't live in anxieties or shame or any of those things. So my trips.
How old were you? How old were you on your first trip?
Oh, my first trip, I actually was about 48, 49.
Okay, so you started a little bit later.
Oh yeah, a lot later. So so my mind being open to hermetics and alchemy and all those things came long before. The trip just took me at another level for me. I was already in an understanding that most of these books and beliefs are bullshit and all this sort of thing, and that understanding, I already understood alchemy, I already understood hermetics and things of that nature. So the trips just helped me to see it even clearer and see it better. And
now you were raised up in Christianity, right?
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah.
But I've had a problem with Christianity since I was 9.
Well, it's hard not to. The more you learn about it, the more questions are raised, and they don't like questions,
No, especially in the South.
Yeah.
If growing up in the South, asking questions was considered to be demonic.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, and it was
how dare you question?
So I was very much demonized by the Christian church at that time frame, different Christian churches.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had a supportive grandmother,
Yeah.
and I have a supportive family, so it never affected me in my home. Uh, it wasn't, and I literally was trying to prove Christianity from, even though I had a problem with it, I was trying to prove it from 9 till about
Yeah.
30, 36 is when I just was like, this shit just not, I just can't. Every time I go to prove it, all I
Can't
do is
defend this shit
never
no
know.
more.
Mm-hmm. So I finally just had to let it go around 36.
Yeah.
And, you know, from then, and now once I let it go, though, instead of the turmoil that I was experiencing and trying to hold on to it and make it work, the freedom and release and peace that I received within myself was just unfathomable. I was just couldn't believe it. It was so much so peaceful on the other side. The grass was very much greener on the other side.
Yeah,
It
I
was
was kind of lucky.
crabgrass in Christianity, and I was on that St. Augustine grass outside of it.
Yeah, it's pretty out there in St. Augustine. I've been out there.
Mm-hmm. So I was walking on that good grass at that point. And then, like I said, the trips just helped me to see things even more clearly, understand the universe better. And so I could never see myself going back.
Ever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really lucky being raised the way I was. I think I didn't have anything forced on me, you know. But my mom just let us read and study whatever. She might have suggested things, but nothing was ever forced. She would take us to a coven meetup, which when I was a kid, when she walked in with kids, they would kind of cancel the whole thing, be like, "Never mind, we'll do it later." Which I thought that was kind of stupid. It's like, how are you going to pass it on to the next generation if you know you're not doing anything in front of them? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I claimed spiritual for a long time, and I started thinking about it. And like, you know, spiritual can go in so many different directions, and it's kind of ambiguous these days as to what that even means. And I was thinking about it. I do believe in the construct of the one true Creator, but but I don't believe, you know, I don't come to that conclusion through the Abrahamic religion. And actually, the more I study the Abrahamic religion, I see how they have just used the construct. Like they want Yahweh to have all the awe and glory of the one true Creator without extending any of the responsibility and the dignity to the creation. You know, how can you be a perfect creator and then you create knowledge and free will, but then all of a sudden, wagga wagga beam bam, now knowledge and free will is the conduit for sin and evil. It's like, and then you try to blame that on your creation. It's like, no, you created everything. So like, I can use the 10 Commandments to prove that Yahweh is not the one true creator. I would right off the bat because, okay, a perfect creator in perfect justice, he would not break his own commandments. Okay, if the one true creator has the power of creation, and any limitations you wish imposed, you would build that into the fabric of reality, such as the natural scientific laws. I think natural scientific laws are themselves examples of the actual limits of the actual one true creator. Which has no name. People are like, well, what's the name? There is no name because he owns every single name. I say every word ever spoken is the word of God. Followers of Abraham say, no, only this book is the word of God. I say every word ever spoken is the word of God because we are all God. Or we are all an extension of the Godhead.
I can see that in the idea that since this God, according to the Abrahamics in Isaiah, he claims that he created both the good and the evil. And since man creates his own good and evil, I can see that point being made from that perspective. But from the Hermetic perspective, God could not exist that is all good.
Well, I don't believe in evil. I don't believe in the construct of evil. I believe in bad. I don't believe in evil, me personally. I don't believe in sin or evil.
Well, the only sin I believe in is a sin that you when you do things against your own good nature, against your own self, rather.
Well, once again, I would call it a mistake. You know, I believe in mistakes and bad, which is different from sin and evil, because mistakes and bad can always be corrected. Like they're just there to point you in the right direction. They're not there to be loathed or.
How you gonna correct murdering someone?
Do what?
How can you correct murdering someone?
What do you mean?
You say there's no sin, But if
Yeah.
you murder someone, that's not a
And
mistake.
Well, see, something that a lot of people will do. So when I say I don't believe in sin, people will like think of the most horrific thing and be like, "Well, that's a sin." Well, I don't agree that's a sin. I would say it's bad. I wouldn't agree with it because I have I believe in subjective morality. I actually say, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about too. That you were talking about the other night when you were talking about absolute truth. I got a
Mhm.
much different perspective on absolute truth than most other people. Because I say anything within the realm of perception is inherently subjective and relative, and that extends to truth because the very term truth is only empowered by our conscious thought. You know, the actual truth of a thing or an object or an event is entirely dependent on the perception of all the sentient singularities around observing
Okay, but
it.
to murder someone has to be wrong as an absolute truth. There is there is no situation where murdering someone is positive. Is
Uh,
not wrong.
in defense, I would say, if you're asking me,
No,
I
okay.
would.
Premeditated murder. So when I say murder, I'm speaking on premeditated murder. I'm not talking
Okay,
about self-defense or defense of
okay.
others. Premeditated murder. I come to the Ozarks. I hunt you down and I murder you for no reason, or even if I think I have a reason.
Hey, all the stuff I said about the Muslims, they're coming. Don't worry.
So
Hey, I blasted out my location and my phone number. I said, "Come see me, motherfuckers. They're coming. Don't worry."
but me doing that to you is something I wouldn't want done to myself or anyone that I care about or anyone,
Um,
period. So
to
that would
go.
be a not subjective morality, but a objective morality, a definitive truth that is wrong to murder someone, premeditated murder of someone, and they have
Well,
no
and
reason.
I'm not going to say. I'm not. I will say that. I agree subjectively. I absolutely agree subjectively that that is wrong. But I absolutely acknowledge that someone else's subjective perception might be different. And um, yeah, okay. Let me put it this way: you can have everyone. At that point, you are trying to multiply um, subjectivity and transmute it into objectivity. When you say, okay, everyone agrees that this is bad, therefore that makes it absolutely bad. But that is actually just making
No,
it a subjective construct of absolute.
mm-mm. I
No?
don't care if everybody agrees with it. Everybody
Yeah.
doesn't have to agree with it.
Okay.
So I don't need the agreement of everybody else to look at it and say that if I have no causation to hunt and hunt you down and murder
Yeah.
you, then it is wrong. Everybody else can disagree with it. Other people can think that I should be able to do that. None of
Yeah.
that matters
Gotcha.
because objectively it's wrong. To rape someone is objectively wrong, regardless of what anybody else thinks. It's just wrong.
Yes.
So I don't need consensus on that.
Yes.
So that's why it never touches the realm of subjective morality because it doesn't require anyone's agreement.
Well, that's
Because
entirely subjective, though. That's entirely relative to your own perception.
no, it's just relative
It-
to life, period.
you said for me personally, I don't need anyone else's agreement or validation for my perception
Okay.
because
So,
my perception is so strong that is inherently a relative.
so,
You are basing all of that off of your relative awareness.
so even if
But
I
when
took away me personally to hunt and to murder someone in cold blood, to rape someone is just wrong. Period.
okay,
Doesn't
me
require me
personally,
or
I
anybody
don't
else
want
to
it
agree.
unless they're saying yes, daddy, give it to me.
Huh? I hear you.
I don't want it unless they're saying yes, daddy, give it to me. I don't see how anyone could want it. If a bitch says no, it's like I don't want that skag meat anyway, ho.
But
Shit, you keep
there
your
are
no.
and there are people who like that though. But
Yeah, no.
the
Yeah,
it doesn't make
they're called Muslims, and they're invading. Uh,
no
uh,
no no not no, don't
No,
put that
not
in
all of them.
the list. Don't
Okay,
put that.
not all of them. I will throw
That's
that
not
out
even
there.
the majority. That's not even the majority.
Over there.
The majority of Muslims are cool people, they're nice people, they're moral people. The majority don't go around murdering and raping people.
No, not the majority, but it is a minority that does it. But okay, what happens? Just like with all the mass exodus of all the Muslims that came into, look at Europe right now. Look at the United Kingdom right now. That they are Sharia cops everywhere. That they came in as a minority, but the stories were suppressed. But there was mass rapings when the immigrants first came over into Europe. I'm just saying. I'm not saying all of them do it, but that probably was a minority. But
exactly, it's a minority of Muslims who even follow Sharia law.
Yeah,
but you're always going to have the worst things that happen in any human civilization is always happening with a minority of people.
Yeah,
it is hardly ever happening with the majority of people.
Yeah, but also that silent majority is allowing that violent minority, and that's not just with the Muslim. That happens with any group, because the silent majority are too afraid to speak out or do anything, to hinder that violent minority.
Right, because, and this is a problem with people in general. If it's not affecting me, I'm not going to say anything about it.
Yeah.
The only time I'm going to raise my voice is once it's affecting me. But there was a writer back in the early 1900s during the whole World War II time frame. I forgot who said it, but he said something to the effect of, when the Nazis came after the Jews, I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. When he came after the handicapped, I didn't speak up because I wasn't handicapped. When he came after I think he said Protestants, I didn't speak up. But then they came after whatever he was, but there was no one left to speak up for me. Yeah. So people won't
divide
speak
and
up.
Conquer. Divide and conquer.
And people won't speak up until it happens to them. Once it starts happening to them, now everybody will start speaking up. It's just like not too long ago, we had the whole Black Lives Matter stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
It was happening to Black people, so Black people spoke up. There were some white people that spoke up and other groups that spoke up, but the silent majority of white people didn't say a damn thing because it wasn't happening to them. Once it starts happening to them, if it started happening, oh, you know what? Better example, just hit me. Crack cocaine was not on the table for most of America to say shit because it was in the Black community, purposely put in the Black community. But once it got into suburbia America, all of a sudden everybody got a problem with it now. The same thing with AIDS. As long as it was considered a gay virus, people didn't have shit to say about it. But once it hit broader spectrum of America, all of a sudden somebody got something to say about it. So you're right. The silent majority is making the mistake by not speaking up against that loud minority. But back to the subject matter, they are still wrong in what they are doing when they rape people, when people murder people based on their cause or their laws or whatever it is. They're still just.
If you're asking me, yes, I don't agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. They're still wrong. That's why I say there are very few objective moralities, but there are, and they are the most important moralities that we all should share. There are few. Most of the moralities are subjective, but for the few objective ones, we should all share those. And if we did, these religions wouldn't be able to stand up to them because their moralities doesn't stand up to that objective morality.
Well, and it's funny how Christians try to claim absolute objective morality based on their particular perception of religion. It's hilarious because, as I've said, Yahweh has commanded his followers to kill, rape, and steal. Yahweh has killed, raped, and stealed. So, but that's the hill that they're dying on, and putting a pin in it and saying, this is the example of morality that should be called objective. And it's completely arbitrary, and so that is an example of exactly what an objective absolute morality does not look like. Something that is arbitrary and self-defeating.
It is. And they will continue. And religions will continue to do that, just as well as governments and nations and people groups. And that's the problem that we have. That's why, like, if you can call it a theology, my theology, one of the basic thing that it hinges on is do whatever you want as long as it doesn't take away someone else's abilities to do what they want, right? So
Yeah, the way I look at it is we are all God, you know, we are all brothers. You know, and I will say my message is ceasefire, motherfuckers. All you guys over there on the east killing each other, ceasefire, dude. We're all brothers. That's my message. So you don't want to hurt someone else because that's just another you through my theology. You know, uh, taking from
that makes
someone
sense.
else is taking from an alternate self of yours. Is the
Yeah.
way I look at it.
And I have no problems with that thought process because that's falls in line with what I'm saying and what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate you
I,
coming
I
on.
I appreciate you having me on, sir. Thanks, man.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, yeah.
Get
Hey,
back to you
I'll
need
be.
to come. What'd you say?
No, I appreciate it. I've been wanting to show up. I'll be doing some reactions to this on my channel here in a little bit. I got a backlog of stuff I got to react to still. So thank you, man. I appreciate it, bro.
Cool.
You have a good
Appreciate you.
night, sir.
You too.
All right.
That was a good conversation. I don't know what the hell y'all. I know y'all been going back and forth about a bunch of other stuff, uh, but I have to listen to who I'm talking to in order to be able to respond properly. I did put the little thing back out there again if anybody else wanted to come on, but until then, let me plug this microphone back in. There we go. What is this crayon thing? I kept seeing crayon, and Sean is talking about. Oh, I know who you're talking to. I don't know why y'all still talking to him. Click on the link if you want to have a conversation with me. I'll post the link again. There's the link. If you want to come on, we still got about 20 minutes. Sorry. Y'all stupid. made me made me inhale a little bit. You don't inhale cigars. I know somebody asked me to ever had cigars from Ybor City. Yeah, but it depends on which one. Some of them are good, some of them I like, some I don't. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, cigars in the chest are not good. We only go live on. I only go live on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Just Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whew. Well, James, I put the link out there. Click on the link, sir. You're at work. So you have to be able to come on live at this time frame between 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You talking about, I think the place that hand rolls them is called the church, or it used to be an old church. I haven't been to Tampa in a long time. If my son gets stationed there as he's requesting, I will be going back. Okay, so Will, the first thing is you don't blow all the smoke. If you blow all the smoke from a pool into through your nose, you're gonna burn your damn nose. So it's just like a quarter of the smoke. So all you do is bring it into your mouth, push your tongue up, and blow out your nose. Don't tense your nose up, relax your nose, and just let it blow out and blow out your nose. That's how you retrohale, and that's how you can taste all the different things that I say you can taste in a cigar. Like right now, the pepper has subsided in this cigar, since I'm in the last third, and this cigar must have Nicaraguan leaves in it because I'm getting more of the cocoa and dried fruit and coffee flavors out of it. So Nicaraguan and probably some Dominican. I have no idea. Well, I do have an idea. I'm thinking that's what I'm getting out of it. So Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live. What was that? Black Owl Lucian. So Monday will be your day to come on live now. Yeah, the old church one. That's a popular spot in Tampa. Hey man, I gotta answer the questions about cigars. Yes, I saw that video. I did a response video to that one where they embarrassed that little girl and the mother, and I talked about how the mom was supportive of her preacher for doing it and claimed that they didn't force that little girl to go up there. But that level of shaming is bullshit because they should have. I'm sure everybody else in that church got their own issues. Leon, if you are inhaling cigars, you are crazy. Oh, another time? Man, shut up. Get a life, bro. Just say you scared. Last time I invited you on, you start complain talk. That's when we learned about your so-called disability, and you punked out on coming on then, and just like now, you're punking out. So you know, I will, whatever. Ooh, if you're gonna practice on a Java mint, you're gonna get a lot of that mint. That mint that you just taste in your mouth, you're gonna get a lot of that mint coming through a retrohale. So just do 1/3, just like not even 1/3, like a quarter of the inhale. Exactly. Now, if you're inhaling cigars, that is the problem. You are damaging the shit out of your lungs by doing that. Of course, he backpedaled. Tim, I'm not even. Tim is stupid. He working with Monica Lewinsky. She should come out with a cigar brand. What? I want to go get. I'm not put it out. I can't go on there. It won't let me get me a. Why I go? What? I think you're gonna get a cigar next time you go to Kentucky. Cool. Yeah, if you cut a cigar too much, you'll cut the cap off of it and it'll unravel. It's hard to smoke. Dude, if your disability won't stop you from saying what you want to say, then why are you not coming on? You asked to have a conversation with me, but then I put the link out, but I don't want to do it this time. Man, hush. I'm not talking to you no more. I'm gonna go back to ignoring you. A lot of people do bite the tip off. That's more the Cuban style of doing it. I don't like doing that because I want to even smoke. So I either use a V cut or a punch. Yes, LaQuinn. It was on verses 15 and 16. Of course, when I end this, I'll rehash it just a little bit. Let me post this link one more time. We got about 10 minutes. Dark light, you did fine. You did fine. No problems. What Leon said, give him the link. Exactly. I posted the link. It's already been posted. Oh, you use the punch when you have it? This bracelet here actually has a punch. Is actually a punch bracelet that I got at a cigar conference. This one. So I always have it on. But my torch also has a punch on it. Yep, we almost done. So you know the live is almost done. We're down to that part where I gotta keep lighting it. If I don't keep it smoke blowing, keep that heat on it. Anybody else got any other statements, questions? You like nubs? Oh, Randall. And if I didn't say this, my wife would kill me. Find you the nub nuance. It'll just be called nuance. It won't say nub, but it's made by nub. But the nub nuance triple roast, and get you a cup of coffee. Nub nuance, with the nuance triple roast and a cup of coffee, it'll change your cigar life. I'm telling you, it'll change your morning cigar life. It looked like a short smoke, but that little joint will smoke for a good 45 minutes to an hour. Well, you like nubs, so you already know that. This is actually a good question, Stephanie. I think that the reason why parents who have children with disabilities like to get them into Christianity, especially, one, they already are um, indoctrinated themselves as parents, but it alleviates some of their pain from the fact that they had a child who has a disability. And it's a way to give themselves and the child some relief of the fact that the child has a disability, instead of them just dealing with the fact that it just happens sometimes. Sometimes children are born with disabilities, and you just make the best out of it. But to use that as an excuse, but it gives them some excuse, some kind of hope. But you never see them. The thing I find strange about it, you have a child with disability, you believe in a God who's supposed to be able to heal for people from everything, but none of these children are ever healed. You are absolutely correct. And the only chance of cancer that you may have is mouth or throat cancer, but mostly just mouth cancer. And even that is less than 1%. This doesn't even register as a percent. I'm telling you, Will, if you try that nuance triple roast, and like I know my wife is listening, and when I said that, I think that's why she downstairs gave a big view or whatever she noise she made. Cause that damn nub. Mm-hmm. There's scotch with coffee in it. Mm. I've never done scotch with coffee. My wife does like to get some Jameson with her cigars. Jameson orange most often, but she likes Jameson with hers. It's not on here, but I got a text that says that that's what James' parents did to him. James, I see that your disability is kicking in. I did not say that nobody uses the disability for an excuse. They use the indoctrination of their God as an excuse to alleviate them from the depression or stress or angst that they have from having a child with disability. Listen and learn, James. Listen and learn. But yes, Jameson is a whiskey. If you ever come to San Antonio, get you some Devil's River agave or the espresso. It's a great, great whiskey for it with a cigar. John, I don't think he has a disability. I think he's just using that to garner some level of sympathy for his inability to speak. Oh. Stephanie says she has cerebral palsy. I believe that whatever your disability is, uh, you be the best version of yourself, and there's nothing wrong with having a disability. You just don't do things. You just do things differently. I do pretty much things like everybody else. I just may have to do it a little bit different. There's a young lady. She's in the cigar world. She has a form of cerebral palsy. Doesn't stop her from doing anything. She is one of the most well-known. She is one of the well-known people in the cigar industry in the Atlanta area, and she's becoming one of the most well-known persons in cigars and whiskey because she represents a whiskey brand too. Uh, she is always traveling, always going to shows. She doesn't allow her disability to stop her from anything. Doesn't stop her from dating. Doesn't stop her from having fun. Everybody loves her. If we still would have kept our cigar lounge, I was going to hire her. I was hiring that chick because even as a customer, she would get people to buy more cigars. I asked you, had you debated any Bible scholars? Did you use the Bible or other texts? And how did they receive it? I use both the Bible and other texts. When I debate somebody, I'm going to use their own Bible, their own words against them, for one. Two, I will pull out the other texts to demonstrate the non-historical evidence of the Bible and how history contradicts it. Of course, it's all going to be relative to what we're talking about. Most of them either walk away still believing the same thing they were believing, but questioning it. And I stopped debating when this one dude started crying. And that wasn't on my podcast. That was on Kevin Wesley's podcast. Woo! Nubs and Blue Mountains is that nuance and Blue Mountain, Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. Whoo! Now I'm gonna tell you right now, if I have some Blue Mountain coffee, I'm not sharing it with anybody because that shit is not cheap. If you can appreciate good coffee, you cannot have any of that. Welcome to the channel. Ah, Travis. I'm sorry if I'm fucking up your name. But welcome to the channel. I'm bad with names, so don't get mad at me. What would you say overall about the historicity of Scripture? Do you believe any of it is true? The Bible has, the Bible has little to zero historicity about it. Everything in the first 5 books of the Bible, zero historicity, not one lick of it. The majority of the books thereafter, not one lick of historicity within it. You don't get to starting having some history of the Bible until you say Hezekiah was attacked by the Assyrians. But as far as 180,000 of the Assyrians were destroyed because of an angel, there's no historicity about that. That's just Bible bullshit. So any of the miracles, things like that, there's a zero historicity. There's no historicity of Jesus, the Bible version of Jesus. There's really no historicity of a Jesus, period. When it names certain places, Jerusalem, Rome, those places exist. That's about all the historicity you'll get out of the Bible. But as far as the stories, no, none of it. None of it whatsoever. So no, that's my answer for the historicity of the Bible. It is severely lacking in actual historical standing. And unfortunately, it always will. I doubt very seriously if anything from the Bible of those old stories will ever be able to be proven. The Exodus, impossible to prove, never going to be proven. You can't even prove that they were in Egypt at the time frame they claimed that they were in Egypt. Actually, it's been proved that they weren't in Egypt at that time frame, which is why people who believe in this book try to say, oh, well, it was the Hyksos, or oh, it was the Hebrew, or oh, it was the Shashu. They try to make it be these other people that you can find in history and try to make that into the Bible history. And it's just not true. It's just not at all. Um, it's on the same level as people, the Hebrew Israelites and the We Were Here people and America is Egypt and all that bullshit of people trying to claim someone else's history as their own. And I think if people realize that the Bible is just a work of literature, it's more acceptable as a work of literature than anything else. So you can put it right up there with Macbeth and King Arthur. Like Homer's Odyssey and Iliad has places that are historical. We found the city of Troy, but Achilles and shit don't exist. That's just the made up part. You know, it would figure that you out there making some moonshine. It, that tracks very well. That tracks very well. There's actually no proof that William Shakespeare had anything to do with the King James authorized, the King James 1611 Bible. There's no proof of that whatsoever. The only thing that we have is that 54 different scribes participated in this translation for King James. And there's no proof that King James himself was Shakespeare. Shakespeare is just an ambiguous character out there. It could have just been a pen name for somebody. We don't know, because during that era of England, it wasn't favorable for royals or people of means to be playwrights. But having something to do with the Bible, there's nothing that would demonstrate that. I forgot what coffee I'm drinking. There's no proof of that. Now, would it make sense that if a black man was writing and used the pen name of William Shakespeare, could that be a logical thought? Sure. But because of how black people were treated in 1611, sure. But there's no proof of that. But see, my thing is, I need proof of something. I'm more apt. I'm with Debbie here. I don't think Shakespeare existed as a person, but more of a pen name, more so than a person. But we have hit the 2 hour mark, people, and my cigar is gone. It's still 71 degrees outside. So you know what that means. It means that we've come to the end of the show and the end of another week. Had a good week. Good week. So to recap, Joshua 15 and 16 really just talked about lands that they controlled that they never actually controlled in history. Land divided that was never divided. Well, they did control that land at some point, but at the time frame of Joshua, whether you're looking at the archaeological time frame, which would put it around the 1200 BCE, or the apologist time frame of the 1400s BCE, we know that this land was controlled by Egypt the entire time frame that they claimed that they controlled and divided up this land. So we know that this whole division of property was a lie. We saw that the nepotism of Caleb when he allotted more land to his daughter, as well as Caleb deriving more land from Joshua for his particular tribe, as well as Joshua giving more land to his particular tribe as well. But there's no historical evidence that would show that. Actually, the historical evidence shows the opposite of what the book of Joshua is claiming to have happened in history. And this is all just made up stuff. We also saw that they did not fulfill their covenant with this God as far as being able to conquer all the people, the Jebusites, as well as the people of Gezer, the Canaanites that lived in Gezer. So this Bible just shows contradiction upon contradiction, and that is not historical at all. Beyond that, we had great conversation. I want to thank Dark Light for coming on. I appreciate that. It's always good to have conversations with people, and all the other conversations that we had. And you guys were great. I appreciate you tremendously, and I look forward to our conversation on Monday. I have no idea what we're going to talk about on Monday, but I will derive to that. I will come to that conclusion rather sometime before the weekend is over. So I look forward to our conversations on Monday, and y'all have a great day. Continue to share and like all the other videos that I put out. Let's grow the channel. Let's grow the channel. Be shameless right here. Let's grow the channel, man. Let's grow the channel. All right, let's grow it. So y'all have a great night. I got an 80-degree weekend coming up. Probably gonna roll down to the beach. I think we are taking a drive to the beach this weekend, to Corpus Christi and whatever the beach is, the island. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and we are out.